Hey, everybody, it's Marisa Murgatrade, founder of Live Your Message and Superhero Summits. So I'm really excited to introduce you to our last three superheroes. We've got Neil Patel on the line, we've got Don Crowther on the line, and we've got Jason Fladlin on the line. So if you're Superhero Summits fans, you've already met Jason 3 or 4 times now, and Don, this is his fourth summit. But Neil is a newbie, and he's going to go on first. So we really wanted to give you the opportunity to meet our superheroes face to face before the summit. Pick your favorites, choose who you want to follow and study, and really mark your calendars. And also hear a little bit about their backstories, because superheroes usually weren't born superheroes, and it's always good to know where people came from and the mistakes they made and the journeys they took to get where they are, because you might be on the same path as well. So each one of them is going to share their stories with you here today, and also give you one actionable and specific online business strategy that you can be working on for the next few weeks until we go live on the Superhero Summit on July 7th. So let me just give you a word about how we're going to interact today. This is a live streaming Google Hangout on air. That means if you've got any kind of blip in the matrix of your internet connection, the audio may freeze, the video may freeze, all you got to do is refresh your browser. And if you do that, pretty much it's going to come back online. If not, there will be a replay on this page immediately after it's over. So we've got some social share buttons to the left, and we've got a live chat to the right. And so if you want to interact with us throughout this presentation, just log on with the live chat using your Facebook, your Twitter, and ask us questions, and I'll make sure that our superheroes get your messages. And also just give us a like, give us a share. Really let people know that you're out here today, because we're building a community of people who are growing their businesses online, getting their messages out there. And if you haven't registered yet for the Online Business Superhero Summit, it's going to be off the hook. We've got the 10 superheroes here, and there's some of the strongest, most ripped superheroes we've ever had, and you're definitely going to want to come out. It's July 7th through 18th, and there's a pre-registration button right below this video. So I'm just going to get started with our first superhero, Mr. Neil Patel. And Neil Patel is definitely a superhero. He runs businesses like QuickSprout and Kissmetrics, and he's done a whole lot, even though he looks like this young guy. So, Neil, do you want to come on the Hangout and let everybody know kind of where you came from, how you got started in this whole crazy online business world?
Yeah, sure. So I got started around 11 years ago. What ended up happening was I was looking for a job online, and I couldn't find anyone, any like jobs or anyone who was hiring a 16-year-old. One of the first sites I went to find a job was Monster.com. And when I was browsing Monster.com, although I was unable to find a job, the one thing I did realize was Monster was a successful business that was making hundreds of millions of dollars. They were publicly traded, clicked on the stock symbol, found out all the financials, and I decided to replicate Monster.com. Now, my replication failed and it didn't make any money, and the reason being is when I created a website, I thought that, hey, you pop up a website and people just come to your site. That wasn't the case. And I quickly learned that you actually had to market your business, right, to get traffic to your site. So I learned how to do that. The job board started to getting a lot more traffic. And the thing was, even though I was getting the visitors, I still wasn't making any money due to the fact that I was unable to convert the visitors into customers. I didn't have any payment processing online or anything like that. But from the whole experience, although I lost money, I learned how to drive traffic to websites. So all I'm getting at is, for me, when I started my career, I didn't know that, hey, you pop up a business and it's a lot of work, right? It's obvious now, but as a 16-year-old, I didn't end up knowing that. I got good at driving traffic to websites, and eventually I stuck with that, and I created a career around that. Started an agency, a few software companies afterwards, but it all came from the ability to drive traffic to websites, and everything I've done after that from the software companies helps marketers who are focusing on driving traffic to websites.
Nice. And so what does that do for your business when you can master the art of driving traffic? Like, what can that really do for you?
Well, you can grow faster, right? You can generate sales. You don't need as much capital, especially if you can get creative, because creativity is the most important part of traffic generation. And the more creative you are, right, it doesn't always work, but typically the more traffic you can end up generating. And if you can generate enough, you should see more and more sales. And the more sales you have, the more capital you have, and with that capital, you can do other things such as expand or test out different things.
Nice. And I know you've done a lot of creative traffic generation strategies, infographics, lots of things. And do you have one kind of specific online business strategy, traffic generation strategy that you can share with us today and people can get started on right now?
Sure, it's actually infographics that you mentioned. So most people don't know how to do infographics right. There's a few things that you need to know with infographics. Number one, try not to have more than 5 or 6 main points within your infographic. Two, the infographic needs to be related to your business. So if you're a dentist, you can't create an infographic on computers, right? Number three, there needs to be an embed code at the bottom of your infographics. And number four, once you release infographics, you need to promote them on social media. So put it on a fan page, and if you don't have any fans, don't worry. Through a quick 20 bucks, doesn't take much, on your Facebook, you can actually boost the infographic, right? Promote it, and don't promote it to your fans, but instead target specific keywords that are related to the infographic itself, and you'll notice that it'll spread virally.
Nice. And do you have any like ninja tips on where people can get sort of low cost but high quality infographics created?
Yeah, sure. 99designs.com is one place. Another place is Dribble, DRIBBBLE.com. You can find designers there who'll do it for 500 bucks. Submitinfographics.com is another place as well.
Sweet. Thank you so much. I know that's a question that we get all the time, and you have something like 50 some infographics that you've put out that have driven, tens and tens of, not hundreds of thousands of people to your site, right?
Yeah, the infographics these days have driven over 1 million visitors, so they're very effective and very
Nice.
cost effective too, right? Not just from a traveler standpoint, but the cost for the return is a great.
Sweet. So what are you going to be talking about on your presentation? And for those of you who are listening, and if you haven't seen Neil Patel yet, you're really going to want to check him out. So I recommend marking your calendars for Wednesday, July 9th at 12 p.m. Pacific. That's Wednesday, July 9th at 12 p.m. Pacific, and that's when Neil's going to be speaking. And remember, if you haven't registered yet for the the Online Business Superhero Summit, there's a link right below this video. You can pre-register now. And what are you going to be talking about, and why should people come out and check you out?
Yeah, I'm going to teach people how to create a blog. And not a blog that just drives traffic, but a blog that actually converts visitors into customers. I'm going to teach you how to do it from the ground up, and I'm going to teach you how to do it without spending a dollar.
That sounds pretty good. And I know there's a lot of things into building a blog that's not just a WordPress plugin, but actually converts. So, what are a couple of the sort of key points that you're going to be talking about?
Sure, I'm going to be covering the type of content that you need to create, where I'm going to go into detail on how you can create it. I'm going to go over a call to action that you can add on your blog to convert visitors into customers. I'm going to talk about the different types of landing pages you can also create on your blog to, let's say, generate emails, because emails is a great way to convert people into customers, as well as get visitors back to your site, right? So those are a few of the things I'm going to discuss.
Nice, thank you. And really appreciate you coming out and sharing everything that you've got to share. And I know that out of all the people who, drive massive amounts of traffic, you're one of the ones that I love to follow, because you're really able to not just drive it yourself, but give people the tools and the resources to figure out how to drive that for themselves without spending a huge amount of money on advertising and, like you said, really getting the ROI without spending that money. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. See you in a few weeks.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, Neil.
Bye.
Okay, next up, and Don, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
All right, so next time we've got Don's been on 4 times in a row. So Don is truly a superhero, and he's actually...
Either that or you're really in a rut.
I hope it's not a rut.
By the way, before we get into my introduction, I want to just point out something to everyone. Where are you right now, Marisa?
The south of France.
And what are you doing in the south of France?
I'm just working from the south of France, enjoying myself, eating lots of cheese and bread and putting on some pounds and getting some sunshine and remembering what real strawberries.
Yes, and I just wanted to point this out, that one of the things that comes with online business is the opportunity to be able to have a mobile lifestyle if you want to. And Marissa's living that right now. They needed a break, so they rented a couple of places in the south of France, jumped on a plane, and went there. Marissa is a walking example of what the business of online marketing can really do for you. I just wanted to point that out. I know this isn't about you, but I want to make everyone be aware of that.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we really try to spend a few months out of the country every single year to get re-inspired and just have different influences coming in. And, you know, we're learning a lot about just different ways of doing business, because the Europeans are not like the Americans. They really don't, you know, work nearly as much as we do, and they really understand how to enjoy life as well, and that there are other things outside of business that are important. And I actually think that the key to succeeding in online business is when you can get your life and your business right. And I know that we're going to have some presentations that talk about that. So Don, and by the way, Don is in the middle of passing a kidney stone. So kidney stones are apparently his kryptonite. And if he doesn't have his normal, like, super high octane charged energy fuel tonight, that's the reason why. So Don, can you give us a sense of how you kind of made your way in this online business world, and what brought you here today, and what don't we know about you?
So I wanted to start off by telling something about my growing up. I wanted to tell you about my first business. Okay, so I was 12 years old. I was working on some merit badges. I was working on photography and salesmanship and business management, something like that. And I decided I'd combine the three of them together. So what I did is I started a business, 12 years old, where I would walk around with my dad's camera. Now, this is way back before Al Gore even thought of the internet. And digital cameras weren't around and everything else like that. I took a picture of someone's house. I went back home and worked in the darkroom, developed this beautiful 8x10 archival quality black and white print of their home. And then I came up with this really nice folder thing that I would go and I would knock on their door, and I would basically sell them this archival quality black and white print of their home that could go into their scrapbook and their family history and on their wall and all those kinds of things like that. And I had this whole sales pitch I put together about how most people never take a picture of their home until the moving truck's sitting in front of it as they're moving away, and it's never a good picture and all these things. And here, look at this beautiful thing that I did for you. And there are 3 lessons that I learned from this. The first one is you can make a lot of money even as a 12-year-old doing something like this if you think through things strategically and each step of the way. I had to develop a sales pitch. I had to develop the positioning of the product. I had to do everything, and it was a great merit badge experience. Okay, the second thing is that I learned that when I have something that they want, I'm more likely to get a sell out of them. So when I am showing them a picture of their house that looks really gorgeous, people want it. And that really, really applies in our business, is if you have something that they want, it's a whole lot easier to sell it to them than if they have something that they could care less about. Third thing is I learned, so very quickly I discovered that if someone said no, what am I going to do with a picture of their house? And so I went home after the first day of selling things, and I had probably 5 pictures that people hadn't bought, and I sat down and I said, what do I do with this? I just throw them away, and I lose all the cost of that and everything. And so I came up with a downsell strategy. And here's what I did, is they would say, oh, I'm sorry, I really don't want that. And I would put on my best 12-year-old, you know, like just about ready to pout kind of face, and then I would say, well, I don't have any use for a picture of your home, so here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to just give it to you. And people would say, oh, no, we can't take that. I have to at least pay you what it cost us. And I say, and they'd say, what did it cost? And I'd say, $1.23. And they say, you know that? And I said, yeah, I'm working on my business management merit badge. I had to know every cent of that cost. And they give me like $2. And so in the end, I think at the end of this summer, besides those 5 from the first, I only had to throw away like 2 pictures the entire summer long. I made like 300, 500 bucks, which in today's dollars is probably a couple of $1,000, which isn't bad for a 12-year-old. And I learned a lot about selling and about business and about how to do things. And one of the things I want to bring up is that those lessons that we learned, you know, hopefully, I hope every one of you had the opportunity as a child to have to go sell candy bars or, you know, or something to earn money for some organization while you're growing up, because that's one of the best things that turns entrepreneurs into entrepreneurs when we grow up. Those of us that, if you just sent it with your dad to the office and let him come home and give you the money, you missed out on a big opportunity. Everyone should have to be a door-to-door salesman at some point. But the thing that is important is that the lessons that we have learned from our past, whatever that past is, whether it was a job slinging burgers or waiting tables or whatever, there are things that we learned on how to do that better, which we need to apply today. And that's part of what I'm going to be talking about in my presentation here.
Nice. And that, I think, is really, really important, because I feel like so many people discount the knowledge that they've got and the lives that they've already lived. And a lot of times when it comes to online business and even choosing your superpower and your niche and marketing yourself and branding yourself, it's all of those past lives and that past experience that a lot of times differentiates you from the hundreds of other people who are out there trying to do what you do. Isn't that right, Don?
That's absolutely true. Even if all you did was wait tables, you did something to get better tips than the times when you didn't get those good tips. Now, go learn from that and figure out what that is so you can continue to amplify that in your business today.
Excellent. And do you have one actionable kind of specific strategy to give people here today? Give them something juicy to walk home with?
Yes, I would like to. So what I'm going to be talking about in my presentation is how to grow a list of people who actually want to buy from you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my pictures example, and I am going to ask you to think about your business and to think, what is the #1 thing that people want most from you in that particular business area? So whatever it is that you're selling, I want you to start thinking, what's the #1 result that they want to get from that selling? Why would they potentially buy that product from you? And then what I want you to do is to take that thing and ask yourself the question, what is the one thing that they want to know most that will help them down that path to buy that, but isn't the entire product? So, and start thinking in terms of what's that one thing, and then make that one thing your opt-in incentive. So you're promising them the biggest secret to the one thing that will enable you to blank. Whatever it is, come up with that one thing that I like to describe it as I have this itch. It's on my back. It's too low for me to reach it, and it's too high for me to reach it when I go around from the back, and it's too close in the middle for me to reach it from the sides. It's like that, just that one spot. I think everyone has one. It's right there in the middle of the back. You just can't reach it, but it always itches. And if we can scratch that itch, it gives them immediate satisfaction, but it also makes their entire rest of their back get reminded that it also itches. And so you know how when you get that little itch scratched, all of a sudden your back goes, we're excited, we want to get an itch too. That's the purpose of your opt-in, is to scratch that one itch that's in the middle of your back, so then the entire rest of your back starts to itch and you want to buy something to solve your big problem. So if you can help them understand the one thing, then you can get the sell of the other stuff. And that's what I want you to focus on, is what's that one thing that you can make your opt-in incentive that will work for you.
I love that, and I feel like people always make a massive mistake when they're creating their opt-in gifts of trying to do this kind of broad, sweeping thing. So can you give us an example of, say, maybe 1 or 2 markets, what the overall thing is, and then what the one thing is? Like, what's a pointy thing for a couple of different markets, just as an example, so they can see how this really works?
Okay, I'll give you an example of this. Not long ago, I have a friend of mine whose audience is women who work for big companies, and she came to me with an ad that wasn't working for her, and she said, okay, so the ad was how to achieve. It's targeted at working women, and it was. How to be, the opt-in incentive was how to be more fulfilled and successful in your career. And I looked at that and I said, you're not going after the one thing. If you're an employed person in Fortune 500, if you're an employed woman in Fortune 500, what's your biggest frustration? Your biggest frustration is either there's a glass ceiling on top of you or men are getting paid more for the same amount of work. So there's two things there that I invited her to test. Number one, how to break the glass ceiling so that you can be this next CEO, or the one thing you can do to get paid what the men get paid for your same job. Now, as soon as they scratch that itch, they know that there's more than one thing. There's 15 things. She can sell them those other things, but the one secret to that. Here's another one. For someone who has the world of selling health products is full of this. So the one natural remedy that's guaranteed to reduce the effects of diabetes in your life, or the one food that if you eat it every day is guaranteed to reduce 10 pounds in the next month. Those are the kinds of things that are a one thing solution that you can then go beyond that and sell them a whole bunch of other things.
I love it. And the opposite of that is, for the diabetes example, like what's the common mistake that people make would be to say, like, your complete diabetes, food cookbook, something or another, right?
Exactly, or the 7 steps, or the 30-day plan. One of the problems is if you give them 7 steps, what are they going to do? They're going to want to go and implement all 7 steps, which takes them out of the buying mode until they implement those 7 steps, which they will not do. I can virtually guarantee you they will not implement all 7 steps, so they never come back into buying mode. If you give them a 30-day blank, well, they're out of the buying mode for at least 30 days because no one wants to buy anything. They want it for free. And so if they can get 30 days and they say, well, it hasn't worked so far. I'm 15 days into it, but perhaps there's a golden thing that's still going to happen in these other 15 days. It's not going to happen. So all the things that we taught you growing up in the online marketing world of give them 5 tips or the 7 steps or whatever it is, that doesn't work in opt-ins anymore. Those kinds of things aren't working today. That's the reason opt-in rates have plummeted, especially in the last year. And now we've got to do something different if we want to get the opt-ins that we used to get. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you in my presentation.
Ooh la la, hot stuff. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you're going to be teaching in your presentation? I know that for those of you who want to see Don, and this is his 4th summit, he's always one of the biggest hits at the summit, which is why we have him back over and over again. He's going to be on Friday, July 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific. That's Friday, July 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So definitely mark your calendars and come out. So Don, tell us exactly what you're going to be talking about and why people should come out.
Okay, my presentation is called Turning Opt-ins into Cash. How to build a huge list of people who actually want to buy from you. So I can tell you dozens of ways to build a huge list, but you know what? No one's going to buy from you. I want you to have a list of people who buy from you. And so what we're going to be talking about is, number one, speaking of the one thing, the number one change that you need to make into your opt-ins that will change from just getting opt-ins to buyers. Okay, so number one change you've got to implement if you want to turn them quickly into buyers. Second one is the 3 numbers you should be looking at every week that reveal the real health of your list and your opt-in process. And I'll tell you, the size of your list and your opt-in rate are not on that list. We've trained you to look at the wrong numbers. But now that we've got a crisis going in our industry, I'm going to show you the right numbers that you should be looking at. Next, I'm going to show you what the latest testing shows about opt-in incentives. So we're going to go a lot deeper than what we've just done here. I'm going to show you a number of examples of excellent opt-in incentives, and I'm going to show you some failures from some of the big guys that are using bad opt-in incentives. And then two more things. I'm going to show you 3 things you can start doing right immediately to start putting more people on your list who want to buy from you. And I'm going to show you my secret, which is the #1 best source for opt-ins who buy immediately from you.
All right. I want to know the #1 source for opt-ins who buy
Well,
immediately.
I'm not telling you until July 11th.
I know, but maybe you can tell me after this is over and I'll keep it secret. Yes. So again, Don's going to be on Friday, July 11th at 12 p.m. Pacific. And if you haven't pre-registered for the summit yet, just do so right at the bottom of this page. And he always delivers amazing value, so you're definitely going to want to check him out. So, Don, I know you're having a little bit of a bad health day, so if you want to disappear, we would not fault you for that, but thank you for coming on live. And next up, we've got Jason, and then last up, we've got me. I'm going to be talking today, too, and giving you my superhero strategy to help you have a really high converting.
Hey, Marisa. Marisa,
Yes.
I want to say thank you. I appreciate being offered the opportunity to be on here multiple times, and it's always good to see you. Take care.
Yes, take care, you too. All right, Jason, are you there? So if Jason has
Is anybody
there he is.
really ever truly there? It's a very philosophical question, Marisa. Is anybody truly ever there, right?
I see molecules. All right, Jason, so can you give us a sense of like how you got started in this whole crazy online business world, where you came from, and how you started to make your way from 0 to like 10 million and counting?
10 million and counting. In fact, perfect timing last night. I should have made this an overlay. Is we got wire transferred $1 million last night. Yesterday it came in. I heard about it last night. It came in yesterday. And for me to look back and say, wow, I never thought, I always knew in my mind that one day I would happen where somebody would wire transfer me a $1 million transfer. I just didn't think it'd be 7.5 years into this internet marketing stuff, because 8 years ago I was painting houses for $12 an hour, right? And what had happened was I was also trying to get a music business off the ground. It did not work whatsoever, but I'm like, why can't I sell this stuff to these people? Oh, there's this thing called marketing. So I look at marketing and I'm like, well, that looks kind of interesting. Then I look at online marketing and I'm like, oh, this has got to be easy, right? I mean, these people are claiming I can make all this money super duper quickly, super duper fast with almost no effort, no experience. We've all heard that pitch, right? And so I bought into that and I failed. And I'm like, I'm really mad because I'm like, I don't fail. I will not accept failure as an option. And I kept trying and failing, trying and failing. I got so frustrated because here I am painting houses, $12 an hour, 6 days a week usually, and then with maybe 3 or 4 hours of spare time a day because I had an hour commute both ways. I would try to build this internet business and it'd go nowhere. So in complete frustration, I made a new plan. I said, can I replace my day job with a work from home job? And I could. And what I ended up doing was writing articles for other people for a whopping grand total $4 per 400-word article. And it took me 6 months of realizing doing that. I started making about $40 an hour, which to me was, I'm rich. I was probably more excited making $40 an hour back then than I am with what I make today, because it showed me the possibility, right? And I was great, but the problem is after you write so many articles on microdermabrasion and buckwheat pillows, you kind of lose the love no matter how much they're paying you. And so I switched over and said, you know what? There's probably a lot of people who'd like to know how to do exactly what I'm doing, and not so much working for clients, but writing articles really fast, because this was in conjunction with the big e-zine articles craze that happened way back then, where you could write an e-zine article, publish it, get a whole bunch of traffic. That's just not possible anymore, but back then it was. So a lot of people wanted to write articles. Nobody knew how to write them fast with high quality on subjects like buckwheat pillow, which I obviously know nothing about. And so I created a little guide and sold it. and people bought it, and I said, wow, there's something to this. So all I got to do is figure out little things, little tactics, package them up in really basic, simple information products, and take out advertising and sell them to people who want to buy them. And lo and behold, 7.5 years have passed, and over 8 figures in sales just in the last 2 years alone.
That's pretty amazing. Making $40 an hour, really less than that, painting houses, to 8 million in the last 4 years, you said, right?
We've done 10 million just in the last 2 years.
Okay, well, that's even more. So you're an amazing
It
guy.
was 8 million in 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really decided to quit messing around. And so then we just did 10 in 2 years. And most of that, actually, the majority of that has come in the last 16 months.
$1 million. Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Maurice, I had trouble hearing you there for a second.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
now
might
you
be my
sound good.
connection. All right. Well, what I was just gonna say, what was that $1 million transfer for?
So we recently had promoted a program that had launched in internet marketing, and to put it in perspective, the program that we promoted, we did $5.2 million in gross sales. Of that, 2.6 million came to us as an affiliate. And if you said, gee, Jason, I've never heard of anybody doing a 7-day promotion for a product that's launched and sending as one affiliate $5.2 million in sales. I've never heard about that. And that's because it's never previously happened. We've actually, I can legitimately claim to have the world record in internet marketing for affiliate commissions earned in a 7-day period promoting a product launch, right? And so a big part of that happened about a month and a half ago, is we're getting paid for that now, and a lot of that's payment plan stuff. And so there were some full payment options in. We won't get the next transfer next month that's $1 million, but it'll look pretty healthy on top of that. And so a lot of this is, and it's interesting because this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about at the summit, of a culmination of a lot of little things that on their own will make a lot of money, but they're all created specifically so that when the opportunity arises, as it just did for us, you're in a position where you can best capitalize on it. Because only so often are there things that are just life-changing, or only so often are there things that are just so juicy ripe for an opportunity. And unfortunately, so many people aren't prepared to take advantage of those opportunities when they arise, right? And so I want to talk a lot about it in the summit of how do you prepare yourself. So even if that opportunity doesn't come for 10 years, you still make $1 million. But then when that opportunity does come, you condense making $1 million in several years into days, just several days.
Wow, that's pretty extraordinary. So can you give us some kind of actionable, tangible, specific tips to start to put in place right now to get towards what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a big miscommunication as far as what successful people teach and what actually happens in the real world. And so you've probably heard this phrase, and a lot of people agree with it without analyzing that. Like, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And there's some validity to that. But it became apparent to me about 3 or 4 years ago that says, what if people would buy from me even if they didn't like me? What would it take to get people to buy from me even if they didn't know me? What would it take to get people to buy from me without having to trust me? And I started really churning those things over. And what I came down to it is, if I could create something, just some one thing that I could create that would be so attractive, so valuable to the customer, so irresistible compared to the alternatives in the marketplace, then even if they didn't like me, they would still buy from me. And that's where my mind started to work towards. And now here's what's really funny, and Don alluded this to earlier when he was talking about it, is a lot of people trying to make money online or trying to build businesses, or a lot of businesses that are trying to serve specific market segments, they try to be all things to all people. They try to be the best at quality, the best at service, and the best on price. And that's impossible. They try to do things like, not only do they want to be the best at traffic generation, both free and paid, but they also want to be the best at conversion as well. And that's impossible because if you're spreading yourself too thin, I can pick one focused thing that's very juicy, very attractive, that my customers are pining over, wanting some, and they're not getting enough of whatever it is, and I can just focus singularly on that one thing. The end result is I deliver a better customer experience. And who's the customer going to pick? They're going to pick me. They're going to say, wow, gee, I might like that guy more. You know, I might have done business with that girl for 10 years, but Jason's got a better offer. And the customer has no loyalty other than what they think is going to get them the best deal, so they'll go with me. And so then it becomes, it's almost not optional if you do it right, if whether somebody buys from you or not. And it's not any harder, and this is what's interesting, Marie says, it's not any harder to do it this way. It's just if you specifically focus on this instead of splitting your focus on several different things, the end result is you have something that is so screamingly obvious when somebody just glances at it that, oh my God, this is for me, I got to have it. That's what makes everything else easier, and that's where you win. A great example of this is these summits. I mean, Marisa's not the first person to come up with the idea of let's interview 10 experts, build an audience around it, and then promote it, right? But she's the first one to do it with really cool branding, with superheroes. She doubled down on it. She focused on it and made it so good that nobody else could compete in the summit. And as a result, she's pulling on these awesome people like Neil Patel to come in and share their secrets, and you as a customer win. And so you're going to come and you're going to say, well, what's she doing? It's gotten to the point, Marisa, here where my staff got me this for my birthday. The Superman bobblehead, because of the branding that you created for me from a previous summit that we did. So that's called top of the mind awareness, and that is something that any single person can achieve, any single person can focus on and do. And so while everybody else is getting distracted trying to do all these other things, you create this one thing. And then if people will buy from you even if they don't like you, how hard is it then to start selling it and getting people to like you? And that's where the exponential increases in business happen. And that's when you say, wow, I spent the first 7 years trying to make $100,000, and then the 8th year I just made $10 million. Happens all the time when that little tipping point kicks over.
That's the power of focus. And why do you think it's so hard for 99% of all people out there to focus, to choose?
Yeah, it's because they don't see it clearly in their mind. What I love to say, and we're going to be talking a lot about this on my summit, is if I could sit you down and if I had a magic crystal ball and I could say, look into this crystal ball, here's you 1 year from now. And 1 year from now, you would see yourself with whatever your income goal is. Let's say you wanted to make $500,000 take-home net profit in the next 12 months. And you could see yourself in this crystal ball 12 months from now in the future having done that, having achieved that, having accomplished that. Then if I sat you down and say, okay, now you have to work 50 hours a week and you have to work hard to get it, would you do that? If I said you have to go out there and learn these 3 things and cram them and make sure you learn them in order to make this happen, would you do that? And the answer is in every single instance, yeah, anybody would do that because it's what you want already. And it's what, if I could guarantee you to have it, then you would do what it needs to be done in order to get that. The problem is most people who are approaching this internet marketing thing, they don't see it in their mind well enough. And so therefore it's very easy for somebody who does see what they want in their mind to distract you, to get your attention. And it's almost like a battle of wills, of what do you want versus what do they want, and who has the stronger will wins. And so they're able to manipulate you, and there's a lot of people out there manipulating a lot of other people into doing things that are not necessarily in your best interest, but are in their best interest. And until you have your best interest so clearly defined that you can see it as if it already exists, you're toasted. And so once you get that in place, then you can see it, and then you'll move in accordance with it, and your behavior will be congruent. Then you don't get into these issues about information overload, and you don't get into these issues about procrastination, and you don't get into these instances where you feel confused and disorientated, because all of those things fall to the wayside once you see what you have to do. The behavior goes in congruence with that, and it's not a matter of anything else. It self-corrects it, and it falls in line right there, right? So you might say, well, Jason, how do I see it? Well, you're going to have to come to my summit where I'm going to break down specifically how we can show you whatever it is that you want to achieve in a way that makes it so undeniably believable to you that you'll do exactly what needs to be done to achieve it. And then once that happens, we take that and we build up on it and build up on it. So 12 months from now, it's almost as good. As long as you follow the process, how I lay out on the summit, it's almost as good as having a crystal ball and looking into the next 12 months and seeing it for yourself and then moving in accordance with this. Now, here's what I find very interesting, Marisa. We have taught this process, and people pay us a lot of money in some instances to help implement this process, up to $25,000 or more. We've had people sit down who are interested in this, big guys who do high six figures a year, and they'd say, Jason, you can't do that. It's just not possible. I can't do that, at least. Even if you can do that, it's not possible for me. And these are very successful people, right? Now, here's what I know, and I'd love to hear you, what you thoughts on this, Marisa, is I know a lot of big guys and great gurus 3 years ago who are like nowhere to be found now, right? What happened to them? They disappeared. So some people hit that shot because they get lucky or what have you, but they still don't see it enough. So easy come, easy go. And so the people, even very successful people now, I feel sorry for them, because in 3 or 4 years, the people listening here today are going to be replacing those because they're not going to be in it. And you're going to win and they're going to lose, and that's how it works out. And I'm sure you've seen that, Marisa. There's probably even people who have participated in your first summit that you're like, now, like, what happened to them? Where did they go? They dropped off the face of the earth.
Yes, it is amazing how quickly people can rise and fall in this industry, and how having that clear picture is the most important thing you could possibly have in your business, and how challenging it is to have that focus and to choose. So I'm really looking forward to your presentation, and I know you're going to be speaking on Thursday, July 10th at 12 p.m. Pacific. Thursday, July 10th at 12 p.m. Pacific. Any other details you want to share about what you're going to be disclosing with your crystal ball presentation?
Oh, absolutely. So there's certain things that I have noticed that any business, there's only 4 of them. But any business, if you get good at just these 4 things, you can dominate any market that you wish to play in. And then of these 4 things, there's only about 3 to 5 little areas of those 4 things that you need to focus on. So if you've ever heard of the 80-20 rule, which we all have, my joke always was this, yeah, once you learn 80-20, which is, 20% of your efforts are going to produce 80% of your results. So, just pick the 20% to get most of your efforts, and you've cut your time down to 1/5. We all get the concept, but when I ask people that, I'm like, the 80-20 rule? They're like, yeah. I go, how's that changed your life? Did that dramatically change your life once you discovered it and understood it? No, because there's no behavioral congruence with understanding the concept of it. So you will literally see in action how I've applied the 80-20 rule to business building, and how we can take people and start with virtually nothing and turn them into overnight successes. Suppose of overnight. Of course, it's never overnight, but to the outside observer, it's like, wow, there's that crystal ball in action. How did he do that? Well, we drill down to the 4 key areas that any business needs to focus on to succeed, and then in those 4 key areas, there's only a couple things you need to focus on. So even if you don't know any of them now, I can get you up to speed on those very quickly, very efficiently, and then create that clear path that's going to help you achieve whatever that vision is that we sit down together and construct together. So 12 months from now, like a magnet, you will be attracted to that vision, and you will just automatically go in line with the behavioral stuff you need to do to achieve that. And that is what we're going to be discussing on the summit.
That's pretty sexy, Jason. And can you hold up your bobblehead one more time? I think people were admiring it in the chat.
Whee!
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out, sharing your amazing vision. Every time I hear you talk, I want what you got, And except for the facial hair, I don't think that would look too good.
Well, yeah, I was going to shave for this one, but I got so busy today working on something. I was like, uh-oh. So you got me at my worst.
You're not at your worst at all. So thanks so much. And now I think it's my turn to go on up there and share what I got to do. All right. So you're welcome to stick around, but no obligation. All right, everybody. So it's kind of challenging when I got to moderate myself here. But a little bit about my background is 3 years ago, I had a full-time job. I was making $58,000 a year. But before that, about a year before that, is when I realized, you know what? This working for other people is not going to suit me for the long term. What happened is I was a documentary film director, and I was knee-deep editing a 3-part video series for the state of California. It was like $1 million project. I had all these hard drives lined up and all these computers lined up, and all of a sudden my boss strolls in and she says, Marisa, can I have your power cable? I forgot mine. And I said, no, you can't. have all of these hard drives kind of daisy chained. I only have a few minutes worth of battery power, and we've got to hit this editing deadline. And she looks at me and she said, you know what, Marisa, I own that computer and I own that power cord. So give me the power. She literally said, give me the power. And at that moment, I realized that I didn't want to be bossed around by anybody ever again. I was the one producing value in the company. I was the one delivering the results. So why am I in a scenario where I have no kind of stake in the back end of the business? I'm not making ongoing revenue from the films that I'm making. She is. And I don't even own the computer or the power cable that I'm using every single day. So something inside of me snapped in that moment. And I just realized that was it. So I finished, I delivered the film, and I left that job. And I spent the next year kind of floundering where I wasn't sure. And I drove from Los Angeles all the way up to Vancouver and camped out on every state beach between LA and Vancouver, eating kale and quinoa and a camp stove and sleeping in the redwoods and all of that. But I didn't quite figure it out. It took me a year, and in that time, I lost confidence, and I took another job because I didn't realize that I could really make it on my own. I had no idea what I knew how to do. I knew how to make things look good. I knew how to tell a great story. Knew how to make things sound good. But I didn't realize just how powerful it could be to make things look good and sound good and to tell stories, to really grab hold of your message and your positioning in the marketplace, and convey that through everything that you do so people can sense your clarity and your power and your essence and the alignment, who you are. And that's reflected in everything that you do. And that's what people choose to work with you. Not just the know, like, and trust, but because of the clarity of your vision and your message. So if I were going to leave a strategy with you today, something that's actionable, I'd start off by asking you guys a question, and this is something that I'm going to be talking about on the summit. It's going to be brand new content that nobody has ever seen before. But it's this. Like, how many of you actually have a website? Probably a lot of you who are here on the line right now have a website. But if I were to ask you, really, not just how many of you have a website, but how many of you have designed that website with one single specific purpose in mind? One purpose. And do you know what that purpose is? Chances are not a lot of you would say, you know what, my website from the top to the bottom, from the banner to the footer, is designed with a single purpose in mind. And if it's not, then your site probably isn't converting and it probably isn't performing as well as it could. So what I want to show you is I want to deconstruct exactly how to figure out what that number one purpose is. And there's three that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about building a site creating a site that really builds your mailing list. That has opt-ins kind of flooding in every single day. So you've got a tribe of people at your fingertips who want to buy from you. I'm going to talk about building a site, specifically a homepage, that gets people calling you. So if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, how do you get your phone ringing off the hook? How can you build that site from the ground up to inspire people to call you? And the third homepage that I want to talk about is how do you build a site that grows your credibility? Because sometimes, like Michael Drew talked about, it's not that first meeting, but it's that longer-term relationship where you first allow them to get to know you and hear your ideas. And if you're in a higher-end consulting business or service business, then that authority site, that credibility building site, or you're an author or a speaker, then that's the important site for you. So what I want to do is really give you the full-on anatomy, the 9 elements that any effective, high-converting homepage has to have. Whether you want to build a list-building site, what I call a call me site, or an authority site. So my presentation is called the 9 essential elements of the perfect homepage that converts, gets leads, and generates serious income. All right, and I'm going to be going up last on the summit on Friday, July 18th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to know the 9 essential elements that every high-converting homepage has, then you're going to want to come out because I'm going to show you exactly what to put on your site, what not to put, and how to laser focus your homepage so you're actually getting results. You're not just attracting people because it looks good, it feels good, but you're converting them into that one major goal that you've got, whether that's a list build, whether that's a phone call, or whether that's deepening the kind of level of relationship and authority. All right, so I'm really looking forward to this. Like I said, I've been thinking about this for months. Me and Murray have been like putting our heads together and trying to figure out a whole new way to make this kind of homepage, this kind of website accessible to all of our students and all of our communities without investing tens of thousands of dollars. So we've literally distilled down knowledge that we've gathered over 3 years of not just scouring the web, but working with dozens of entrepreneurs who are already 7-figure business owners to build these kinds of sites. We thought about how can we finally, not just have that be available to the 7-figure business owners, but have that be available to people who are merging and coming into business today. Because like Jason said, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years from now, it could be you who's sitting here on the summit. Any one of you could be the next success if you've got that focus and you've got the tools. And that's what this Online Business Superhero Summit is all about, giving you the focus and giving you the tools to succeed so you become unstoppable and you become so crystal clear about your vision that everybody can feel it just oozing out of you. And not just feel it, but resonate with it, be inspired by it, say yes, inspire people into action. Not because that you're compelling, but because you can tap into something inside of them. So we're really, really looking forward to this. If you haven't taken the moment to pre-register for the summit yet, again, it's completely free, 10 days of free training from people like Lisa Sasevich and Russell Brunson and Neil Patel, Don Crowther, Jason Fladlin, Danny Eny, Michael Drew, Ryan Levesque, myself, Alexis Neely. We're all going to be giving you our best stuff because we want to see you succeed. We want your vision out there, your message out there. Thank you so much for turning out, and I'm just going to look at the chat, see if there are any questions. All right. So Moira wants to know, will there be replays? Yes, of course. There are going to be replays of all the events. They're about 48-hour replays. We do make the Superhero Pack, all of the session recordings available if you want to buy them and have lifetime access to them. If you buy them before the summit starts, before noon on the first day on July 7th, it's actually just $97. And if you wait until after the summit starts, it goes up to $147. So I definitely recommend that you take action right away so you get in when it costs the least amount. I'm seeing Elaine say, Marisa, you are astounding. Just what I want. Awesome. I really, really appreciate that. And just looking at the feedback, loving you all, loving the community, really appreciate it. So we're basically going Monday through Friday on July 7th through July 18th at noon Pacific. We may have a special Saturday matinee presentation, but that's in the works and to be announced. We are also going to be doing the contest, the Online Business Superhero Summits contest like we have in the past. And a lot of you did not take the contest super seriously last time, but you can win hour-long consultations with people like Ryan Levesque and Don Crowther who will help you come up with your entire opt-in strategy. These consultations are worth like $1,000. You can win products from Jason, from Neil that are really, really valuable. And all you've got to do is invite people to come and attend the summit free of charge. And Tanya Kersey, who's won this contest 2 times in a row, is going to be sharing a video about how she won twice in a row. And she didn't win it just by inviting 5 people on email, but she won it by making it relevant to them. And that's what all this online business and creating irresistible offers, that's what it's really all about. How do you share this in a way that inspires people to join you, that really builds a movement around it? And if you do that, you can win the Online Business Superhero Summit. We'll probably have, up to like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of prizes to give away, and I will be giving it away live on Friday, July 18th on the line, and you do have to show up to win. But I definitely recommend you take part. It's not that hard to win, and I recommend, the prizes are super, super awesome. All right, so I see Elaine saying, I like and trust you. You are special. Thank you so much. And I'm going to sign out now from the south of France, our little 2 megabit town in Minerves on the Luberon. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate you. You guys are awesome. Go out there, live your message. And as I say, because I did bring my superhero costume all the way to the south of France, is keep calm and pleather on. Bye, everybody.